Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
Well, thank you, everyone. This is, it's the last Saturday in December. I am so glad that I could ask someone who is so special to me and to all of you who read her column, Linda SAUGET. You read her column called Think Yes. And I don't think she has ever written a column that we don't just take a deep breath and say, yes, that's exactly what I want to know. So, Linda, good morning. Thank you for getting up so early and being with us.
Hi, good morning, Anita. How are you?
I'm great. And you really do have a talent for this. And I have to say, I get a lot of books to read. I get a lot of articles people want to put in. But you are unique. And that's a lot to say in this day and age, isn't it?
Wow, thank you. That's a phenomenal compliment. Thank you so much.
And so do you stay up at night to think about what you're going to say for our columns? And I mean, how does this come about? Have you always been like this?
Well, I'm not sure how it comes about. It's usually triggered by something that I see or read. Maybe a quotation, maybe a positive message, maybe another book. Something will trigger the ideas for me. And then I sit down and honestly, it evolves. As I write it, I could be starting in one direction, and when I'm done, it's a completely different message. So as any writer knows, you just sit down and it comes to you and you revise and change, and then it just evolves, and then I have a column written. So that's the process.
And when you're with people, are you able to utilize what you think and what you write? Do you use this in your business and with your family? And I mean, I know it's a weird question to ask. We always look at psychiatrists, and sometimes they are not doing very well in their own life, but they certainly give advice.
Well, you know what I do? I think I do use it in every way with everyone I interact with, because it's just a part of my outlook on life, who I am, and so I do. I use a positive approach. That doesn't mean that I don't have difficulties or challenges, but it's how I approach them.
Right. And your last article in December, the title was Sunny Outlook. And I guess my other question is, how do you find all those people who you quote? How do you know them? I mean, are you familiar with their work, or is there a place that you go for that, or what is the process? I don't want anyone to steal this from you, but
I definitely use the internet for quotes. I have a master's degree in English, and so I do have a background in reading so many of the greatest writers and authors of our time. But I also have continued my education. So I'm always reading something, and that's where I'll pick up ideas, authors, and then if I read an author that I like, I can search them on the internet, and that's where I'll find other quotes. So the internet is like having the public library in your living room. So that's how I find those quotes.
But before the internet, because you're certainly over 50 years old, and we didn't have the internet, and it sounds like you were in a lot of organizations that helped you. What would you want to tell someone who would like to do something like you do, write a column or write a book, or where would they even want to get started?
They'd want to figure out or know or pursue what they're passionate about. You see, this whole philosophy about positive thinking and looking at even the worst situations, trying to find a positive side to it, this is a part of my life. This is a passion of mine. It's what I write about. It's what I talk about. It's what I use in my life. So someone who wanted to write a column, what are they passionate about? That's going to direct them to what they read, who they talk to, what they do in their personal life, activities. And so I'd say that's the first step, is finding out what it is that you would want to write a book about or write a column about. And then just do it, because once you start, there's a magic that happens when you start something and you put a passion into action. It's just uncanny that doors open, you meet people, and so that would be my advice on how to start.
That's good. And, of course, there are a lot of now book clubs, writing clubs. People, as they say they want to retire, they really don't want to retire. I think what they want to do is do something they love. And
Absolutely.
So, and that's why many people are writing books. And actually, you can't wait for a publisher to find you. It's not going to work, because you have to have an agent. It's very complicated. So what I suggest, and a lot of us have done, is there are many publishers you can go to that you pay, and they will write your book for you, and then it's up to you to market it.
Right. Definitely, I say do it. If somebody has a passion to do it, if somebody wants to do it, just sit down and begin. And as you say, there are so many outlets and so many ways to do it. And you're right, people don't retire, they just reinvent what they're doing. They kind of reshape the activities in their lives and the things they're doing.
It's interesting, Linda, that I have a lot of people on my radio show, and many of whom are authors. And I always ask them, how did you get started? Well, I've always been interested in this subject. I've never had time. But now that I've been researching it, now that I'm doing this, there are other people, there are clubs that I go to, and we talk to each other, and we share what we think might be good, what isn't good, and they help each other. But I'm amazed at the amount of books that I get mailed every single day, actually. Usually it's one a day, and the books are fabulous. In fact, I'm sitting with a book now, and I have used it. It's called Everything You Need to Know About Social Media Without Having to Call a Kid. This book is so good. So, and someone has really put their heart and soul in this. Now, this is a person who did get it published because she's famous. She was on a lot of the talk shows, and she knows what she's doing. It turns out she was even a lawyer, and I didn't know that. But the thing is that here she's going to make a difference in my life, because I want to know a lot of the things that I haven't known. But there are people who are just writing about, well, for instance, we've had people writing about the Holocaust. Now, that's always a little sad, but they need to get it out, and they do. In fact, one man who we featured his book wouldn't come on the radio to talk about it. His wife had to do that. But he did write everything about what it was in the Holocaust, and he was there. So that was a pretty serious book. Then there are the books that are light and lively. Some, for instance, I just bought a gift for a friend that men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and maybe it's the other way around, but
that's the right way.
Right. Well, let me tell you, that made a difference in my own life. As much as I adored my husband, and there were things I didn't understand about men. And that book that was written by, I think, John Gray, and he was a psychiatrist or something, but you probably know more about this, but I have to say that made a big difference in my life.
There's no question that there's so much information out there. There's so many ways to improve our lives. And we could be the writer of it to help improve other people's lives, or we can be the reader of it. But there's no question that this is the information age. And so there's no reason any longer, if there's something somebody wants to learn about, know about, there's a world out there. And, as I said, you can go to a library, but you also have a library right at your fingertips with the computer and the Internet. So, yeah, it's very exciting.
And I want everyone to get your pencils out, because I think the best thing you could do for 2018 is to buy Linda's book. It's called If You Think It. And that's how I first met Linda. Actually, this was a book of the month, and we became friends, and now we became almost like sisters. It's just been great. So this is the kind of a thing that can happen. But the book is If You Think It, and that's very much like her column, which is Think Yes. So the way to do this, you can go to Amazon and buy it. You can actually go to ifyouthinkit.com, which is Linda's own website. And the nice thing is if you are listening and you want to have a speaker come to any of your organizations, she will gladly do that. And she is precious. You will love her besides what she has to say. She has been doing that. Now she's getting quite a bit of response. And so we're offering that to you. And I know you will want to meet her. You will want to buy her book. So again, it's If You Think It. And you can purchase that copy on Amazon, or you can go to ifyouthinkit.com. Now, Linda lives in Fort Lauderdale, so she is available for speaking engagements. She'll come up to Palm Beach County. She'll go down to Miami-Dade. She gets a thrill out of sharing what she knows. A lot of authors do that. I know that you've gone to some, and they like you so much they keep having you back.
I do love it. It is a passion of mine because I feel like the message that I share helps people, because everybody, you can't be alive and not be dealing with challenges and issues and problems. And so I try to teach people and encourage people on how to approach dealing with those things. And then when you're not dealing with problems, just having joy in your life, just having happiness in your life, being aware that of feeling that way. You might be having a great day, but just be unconscious about it. So I try and teach people to be conscious of how much goodness there is in their life. Every single day, good things happen, but we're not aware of them. We don't pay attention to them. So I just love talking with people about it.
And one thing for you cat lovers, Linda has a cat. It's really her child, but it's a cat.
Just like your dog is
right.
Your child.
My dog is sitting right here with me under my chair at the studio when he gets up in the morning, on Saturday morning. Come on, Charlie, we have to go. Come on, Charlie. And he's so good and obedient. He gets out of his bed. He says, where is she taking me now? But it's true. I look forward to being with this dog, which is ridiculous. Or sometimes I actually want to put a blanket on the floor and lie down next to him, if you want to believe that. I am crazy.
I do believe it. Pets they are really, you hear dogs are man's best friend, but pets really are wonderful friends and companions. And so if people can have pets, I always encourage it, because it's just, there's something about having a living, breathing being, even if it's an animal, in your space. It's definitely, if you're not with your dog, you sense that that's missing in your house.
That's true. But one thing I've noticed, you haven't written anything about pets.
I haven't.
No, I don't think so. How come?
I haven't. Well, because the idea just hasn't come to me.
Okay, so now I can see another column coming about pets. Well, it's such a natural, because you're so positive, and pets are so positive.
Pets are positive. I just have to think of what the column would be about. Because, I try not to have the column be like you should do this or you should do that. It has a positive message and suggestions, but not in a direct way like you should have a pet. They're good for you. So I have to figure out what I would say, what my approach would be on a column about pets.
Oh, you could do that. I think people would love that. People, isn't it amazing how many people now have pets, but they treat them like children? This isn't casual. I live in an area where our condominium allows pets. So, we walk along, we have our pets, we talk about them, and we have so much that sometimes we don't talk about anything else but the pet.
I know. I see people with them in strollers and
Right.
taking them into the malls.
Right. No, it is something. Well, I'm not telling you what to do, but I know that there are plenty of people, famous people who have written about their pets.
Well, I'm going to give that some thought and try and come up with a column about pets.
Okay, so now let's talk about people who are sitting there and they're thinking, what kind of resolution should I have for 2018? Now, I think everybody wants to do something better, different, change it, what they have had regrets about, what they want to now look into their life to make it different. And I don't know if, I'm sure you have it also. They're probably interesting things. But what do you think the most common? I think the most common, if you ask me, is lose weight.
Lose weight, stop smoking.
Yep.
Trying to, things along those lines. That's usually the most common resolutions, I think.
Right. Be nicer to people. Find a hobby. Let me think. What else would be? This is not a call-in show, but if it were, we'd get so many call-ins about what people think they want to do. But
well, I do think that losing weight is the number one resolution people make, especially following the holidays, because everybody's put on a few pounds on top of it.
Right. But how about exercise? I think people want to exercise, but they're not in a routine. There are people who definitely have a routine. At a certain time, they get up in the morning and they go and exercise.
Yeah, I think exercise is another very common resolution. Of course, the thing is that they say that people break their resolutions, within the first week or two or month. So the trick is, if you really are resolved to do something, how do you sustain that? How do you keep your resolution? Very hard. I don't have an answer here. Very hard to keep a resolution all year.
Right. Well, I think the thing is, you have to write, everything should be written down. Because if you write it down, then you will see it, you'll remember it. If you don't, then it just comes into your mind and it flies out.
True. That's why they say that about any goal, is it has to be written down, and you have to look at it then. It's not just writing it down, but you have to have it before you, whether it's on a calendar or on something that you look at every day to remind yourself of what your goal is, what your resolution is.
Right. We used to talk about diaries before we had the internet. Diaries were very important because that's what you got to see, and that's what told you about everything.
It's true. I forgot about that. My gosh, I wonder if people keep diaries anymore.
I think so. I think the diary is for your brain, the stimulation, and I've really kept, it's not exactly a diary, but I've kept books for a lot of years, little notebooks, and I write in things, and I have from time to time gone into them. And it's amazing what I've put there. And I will tell you one thing, and this is a little sad, but when I was watching Bill as he was rehabilitating and he did pass away, but I kept a daily diary about what was happening, what didn't happen, what I should do. And I've gone back to that. I don't like to read it because it is sad, but I remember that it helped me through. Because when you're confused, when you're in a traumatic situation, writing it down is extremely helpful.
That's fantastic. You know what might come out of that, Anita? Is
what?
You might end up writing a book or a column in the magazine or a series out of the observations that you made and the things that you learned and experienced from that experience. And having written it down, now if you go back to it a year from now, 2 years from now, or wherever, you'll have a perspective on it and enough details that you could could utilize it. So we were talking about how to write a book. This is a good suggestion, is write down the ideas you have. Don't try and write the book, sit down and write a book, but just sit down and write your thoughts and ideas down in a diary, in a notebook, and use those at a later date. Look at them in the future, and then see what ideas are triggered from what you've written down.
Well,
that's a great thing for you.
Yeah, one thing I'm going to say, of course, Dr. Mencia is always on our show on Saturday mornings, and when you go to a doctor, that's the time that you should have been writing down a lot of things. So let's say you have an appointment 30 days from a particular time, and the second day your blood pressure's up, the third day you have a pain, the fourth day you feel great, the fifth day you're taking certain medication, it doesn't make you feel good. You ought to have a diary that you take to your doctor if you're having any serious repercussions.
That's true. It's true, because for one thing, you don't remember everything. When you're at the appointment, you don't remember the detail of everything that you wanted to mention or go over. So that's a very good suggestion.
Right, and it goes into a lot of other areas of situations, just like if you have grandchildren. It's nice to write them little notes, because when you go to see them, they are busy on their iPads, on their everything else. But I've started to write just little things, like when I walked in the park near our house, I saw the cutest little ducks and the mother duck and the way they treat them and all these things. And sometimes if I can get a picture of it, I do it. Sometimes I don't have my camera with me. But I will tell you right now that they never answer. They don't say anything to me about it, but I know they're reading it. And, of course, if you keep doing this, before you know it, you've written like a little book for them.
Oh, that's such a precious idea. That really is. I like that.
Well, I think it also makes me happy that I'm that I'm talking to them, even though if I don't get any response.
No, but you know what? That is one of those things that they'll probably remember for the rest of their life.
Right.
It's just one of those things that is special, different, and they will remember that. Even if they aren't responding now, that is something they will always remember.
Well, I want to go back to you, and I want to make sure that everybody understands that my guest is Linda Sauget. That's SAUGET. Just so you don't know how to spell it, I just told you. And she does write every month a column in Boomer Times. We just got her column, which is fantastic, for our January issue, which will be coming out probably in another week. And the one in December, though, I'm going back to that, and that's called Sunny Outlook. And that's really Miss Sunny. You should change your name to Sunny Sauget. Had you ever thought about that?
I've never thought about that.
It's a good name. You could change your name, or at least call yourself Sunny Outlook. There are ladies named Sunny. Did you know that?
Yes,
I've had some friends named Sunny.
Named Sunny.
So it could be Linda Sunny Sauget. Anyway, to purchase the copy of her book, If You Think It, and it's by Linda, and she wrote this, I don't know, when did you write this book?
I think it's been about 5 years.
Oh, really? If I only known you 5 years, it seems like my world was never without you.
I think it's been about 5 or 6, yeah.
Okay. So if you want to purchase a copy of Linda's book, you would go to ifyouthinkit.com. Ifyouthinkit.com. You can get it on Amazon. If you just put her name in, don't put in Sunny, because she hasn't gotten that name yet. She's going to figure that one out. She's going to do a pet column, and she's going to change her name to Sunny. See, that's what we did this morning here. I'm just going to call you Sunny anyway. And then people say, who's Sunny? Well, that's Linda Sauget.
Anita, you're so great.
And it's only 6:30 in the morning.
I don't know how you do it.
Well, it's like you do it. I just get up happy. I don't know. I just get up filled with ideas. That must just be a part of my nature, but I'm glad. I'm thankful for it.
I think that is a part of your nature.
Right. I'm thankful for it. And I think that's why Bill and I had a fabulous marriage, because he loved that. He would say, I love when you talk. Some men wouldn't like this. I say, will you please be quiet, but he liked it. So it worked out very well. And
he was
of course,
truly a great man.
Right, yeah, I know. It was really great. I'm glad you had that. As a matter of fact, the Air Force Cowboy book is selling. We usually sell about one a month. Isn't that interesting? That's Bill's book.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
He was just a bright, wonderful man. He really was.
Yeah, he was great. And so I think for the next year, I know that you'll be having some interesting things you're going to do. In fact, before even the year, I know that you'll be going to see a lot of shows, as I will. And that's something I always tell people. Get up off your couch. You know, be safe. You can go during the day. Thank goodness they have a lot of matinees if you don't want to drive at night, or go by Uber. But go to a theater. And I know that Linda will agree with me. There's nothing like sitting in a seat watching live theater.
I agree. I definitely agree. I have season tickets in Broward, and I just love that.
There is a saying, and I just saw it here in the magazine, because people are so concerned as they age, how they look. They don't look the same. This saying is by someone, I don't know, probably you know who Martin Buxbaum is. I don't, but it says, some people, no matter how old they get, never lose their beauty. They merely move it from their faces into their hearts.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Is that perfect?
That is beautiful.
Yeah, so I just want to tell you that it is so great, you know, having you on the show. And Dr. Mencia is on his way. It's foggy outside, so he just texted me and he said, they're on their way. I said, well, just don't get in trouble so we can just keep talking. I wanted to also share something about that. Linda is not just an author. Linda is a very, very busy, prominent businesswoman with a company, a big company, and she does lots of things in the healthcare field. So this is, I would say, her hobby. Would you call this a hobby?
I would, yeah.
And do you think people should have hobbies?
I do. You know, I think people need to fill their life with meaningful things. It could be anything. It could be stamp collecting, but whatever is meaningful. And this is meaningful to me. It is. You know, I think the more things that you can do within your life, the more interesting it is.
Yeah.
So this is my hobby. It's something that I'm passionate about. It's not what I do to make a living, but it's what I do to express something that's passionate to me, that I'm passionate about.
Well, I'm just going to change the subject in 1 minute, because I was thinking about that as I wrote this article. I mean, not article, as I read the article. I had a call, a few days ago. I don't know if the person's listening, and it doesn't matter because I'm not going to do anything that's harmful. It's just an interesting call. I have a fantastic gynecologist, and I've had him for many, many years. And so I had a call from a woman, and she said, you don't know who I am, but I go to the same gynecologist. And she said, and he told me that I should call you because you know how to help people, especially get dates. I said, he did? I don't know how that happened. I never told him that, but that's okay. He figures I just know people. So she said, I think she said she was in her 70s, but she looks very young, and she's very pretty. I mean, she told me all about herself. She said, and I can't find a nice man because they all think I'm too pretty. And I, listening, you know, she said, I said, have you been online? And she said, yes, but everybody I found are losers. So, you know what I'm thinking. I mean, this is called attitude, is it not?
Yep, it is. What you think is what you get.
I know. So she wants to get in touch with me now and have me help her. Well, I really can't help her. She's going to have to help herself. I mean, men see through the pretty, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah. It's interesting because we always think now as one ages, you see it, but it's not really true. You see a lot of men with younger women, but that's not really in the end who they choose. I don't believe. They really choose people as this just said, what I wrote to you, what I read. They merely move it from their faces into their hearts, and also their experience. And so maybe, yes, to have someone on your arm as you're walking around, or maybe, no, for the moment. But there are a lot of hours in a day, and you can't have sex all day. So that's really what it's funny that I got that call, and I thought, what am I going to do with this one? Should I have her call you? Oh my goodness.
That's funny.
Yeah, I
well,
do.
You know what I would tell her?
What would you tell her?
What I would tell her
Yes.
is that we are always right. So if we think something, we will see what we believe. So if we believe that there are no good people out there, or people are, only interested in that's what we find. We'll end up attracting that. So our thoughts create our life. We filter our minds and our eyes and our beliefs. We filter what we see by what we believe. So I would ask her to look at what she is thinking, all the negative things that she's thinking, and then she's getting to be right about everything that she thinks.
That's a good point. Because that's what Wayne Dyer was so famous for, that book. If you think it, no, if you believe it, let's see. What was the word? If you believe it, something, I forget the exact name. Remember?
Change your thoughts, change your life.
No. There's a book he wrote. If you
see it when you believe it.
Oh, you see it when you believe it. We don't hear from Rich very often, but sometimes he just can't stand it. That's right. That's right.
Right.
If you think it, it'll happen. We know that. It does. So that was good advice from you, because that's really true. It's an energy, and that's why people wonder why I don't like people. Not that I don't like them, why I don't hang around with people with poor energy, because it lowers my energy, and so I kind of stay away from that.
I do. I am the same way. I want like-minded people in my life. Now, everybody in the world isn't like-minded, and you have to deal with everybody that you encounter, but you don't have to have them as your best friend. You don't have to, spend a lot of time with people who are, negative, critical, because that is an energy.
Right, and that's why Dr. Mencia is so successful, because he's so positive all the time, and that's why he's successful, because when you go in there and you're his patient, he thinks that you're doing well, even though you don't feel well. He thinks that. So, Linda, listen, you've been wonderful to be on the show. And be careful if you go out, because it's foggy, it's cold. Stay in, keep your cat by your side, and I will talk to you. You're such a wonderful friend.
Oh, thank you so much.
And